I'm here with my brother Cameron Perry, freshman electrical engineer student at the University of Wisconsin. How are you today, Cameron?
Good, how are you?
Great, thank you. So basically, I'm going to walk you through what I've identified as an opportunity for a potential market, and then take you through my hypothesis, and then through a series of interview questions, I'll have you help me test my hypothesis.
Okay.
So basically, my idea is a wireless home charging system. The opportunity I think that exists, charging cords or docks limit a phone or other electronic device's mobility to a small area. Cords plugged into electrical outlets limit a household appliance or device's range and clutter a space. A wireless charging signal, similar to a Wi-Fi signal, could eliminate this immobility issue and electricity altogether. A transmitter could emit radio waves to receptors installed on or in the device. This would allow electronics to charge in any space receiving the signal, and electricity-powered machines to operate without electricity. Energous, a 2012 Silicon Valley startup, has already developed and patented a wireless charging technology called WattUp. The technology features a transmitter emitting radio waves to dime-sized receptors installed into electronic devices, including but not limited to smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, remotes, and game controllers. The receptors then convert the waves into electrical charge. The transmitter only transmits radio waves to a receptor when a device needs charging. Beyond Energys's WattUp wireless charging electronic technology, I'm proposing a home or office system technology transmitting power to all household and office electrical devices. A transmitter will send radio waves throughout an entire home or office, so appliances will no longer need cords, handheld electronics will no longer need batteries and charge, and lights, heat, and cooling systems will no longer need wiring. A device still uses electricity when it is turned off, but plugged into an electrical outlet. Comparatively, WattUp's transmitter and my proposed transmitting technology only sends power to devices when they need charge or energy. My proposed system will increase energy efficiency, decrease utility costs, and prevent electrical fires and power outages, not to mention eliminate gas emission from burning gas and coal for energy. So, beginning with the interview questions, which electronic devices do you use most frequently?
Probably my microwave, laptop, and phone.
What kind of phone do you have?
An iPhone.
Great. Well, you sort of already answered this next question, and I know that you're not at home or in an apartment, you're in a dorm, but
Right.
do you use any household-like appliances or devices in your dorm?
I mean, we have our mini fridge
Okay.
and a coffee pot along with the microwave, of course. And then we have a TV as well.
Okay, great. Mini fridge, coffee pot, TV, microwave. Do you, by any chance, know what part of your housing includes an electricity bill?
It is included in the price you pay at the beginning of the year, so that you don't pay for it individually.
So you have no idea what percentage of that bill is from electricity?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I didn't really expect you to know. Okay. Do you find charging your phone using a cord annoying, hassling, or confining?
Yes, all three.
And why is that?
Mostly at night, it would be nice if you could just have your phone in your bed and it continue charging without you having to be tethered to the wall.
I like that word, tethered to the wall. Well, then why not just invest in a longer charging cord?
I did actually, but it's still not the same because, I don't know, you roll over and the cord gets in the way and it gets all wound up.
Okay. How long is your charging cord?
10 feet, so plenty long.
Okay. So the company I mentioned earlier is called Energous. Would you purchase a $300 Energous transmitter able to simultaneously charge up to 12 devices within a 15-foot charging radius?
Yes, if it could use like the devices I already own. Like
Okay.
if you could just like do an adapter or something like that. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. So if it was compatible with your current devices.
Yeah, exactly. $300 sounds pretty reasonable for that.
Yeah. And my understanding is that so it is about half the size of a dime, the receptor, and it's
Okay.
either installed on your device and connected with wire like very small wiring, or it's actually installed inside
Right.
the device. Would you consider it a huge hassle if you had to go somewhere to have this receptor installed? Do you think it's still worth it at that point?
It depends where I have to go. If I'm just talking like go to Best Buy or something, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
It'd be more convenient if I could just buy the like adapter thing and just plug it into like the charging port of my phone or something like that.
Wait, explain that.
So if you had like a little adapter thing that could just like plug into like the lightning port on your phone, like on my iPhone, it would be really convenient. You just plug that little thing in and it charges it across the room.
Okay. Except then you risk losing that adapter. It's just one more thing to have.
Unless you just leave it plugged in all the time.
Okay, so this is okay.
Yeah.
Now you have the iPhone 7, correct?
Yes.
Remind me, is the earphone jack the same as the charging jack?
Yeah, which could be problematic for that.
Right.
But I use Bluetooth headphones
Okay.
often. So it's not that big a deal.
Okay, cool.
But it definitely would be more convenient if the company got a hold of like Apple and like Samsung and all them and just got the things like implanted into the phone. That
Right.
would make things significantly more convenient.
Yeah, I think that's something, if this technology was really going to go big, that's something that I think they should market to phone companies.
Yeah, for sure.
And the phone companies should purchase those receptors and just automatically install that technology.
Yeah, I think they should definitely like focus on phones first, and then I don't know, gaming controllers would be really nice because like plugging in your controller is a major hassle.
Right.
Like you just want to sit down on the couch and play, but then it's out of charge, so you can't.
Right.
I find that to be a major hassle, at least.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, they actually do have receptors that work with game controllers.
Yeah, that would be very nice. Is this actually something you can buy right now?
I've done some research, and on their website there is no place to purchase it, and I read an article that says that Energous expects the box they will charge about $300 for the high transmitting box, but there's a far field watt up transmitter and there's a midfield watt up transmitter which you might have on your desk, and any device on your desk, whether that's your mouse, your keyboard, your iPhone, your smartwatch, whatever's on your desk, would work. And then there's one called the near field watt up transmitter, which is anything, I think, connected to your computer. So that's really close range. But what I'm really focusing on is the far field watt up transmitter, which is up to 15 feet. So really that could be the size of your living room.
That's my entire dorm room.
Right. So I think that one.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So that one, they're, I think, considering $300 for that one.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Okay. Anyway. So you're a college student.
Right.
And you think this was something that would benefit you.
Definitely.
What do you think is the parameter of a potential market? Who do you think would invest in this technology, or who do you think it would most? I mean, I think it would benefit most people. I think it's
probably college students and like young adults that were born in like the smartphone revolution type of deal. Because I don't know, I feel like the smartphone's the biggest market for this technology.
Okay. And why do you think it's sort of this late teens, mid 20? Why do you think that range? Just because we've kind of grown up with the
And yeah, we
smartphone
use our
revolution?
devices the most.
Okay.
So, I don't know, at least, yeah, we use them in bed the most. Like, older people usually don't use their phones in bed that often.
Now, what I'm introducing is going a step farther than what Energis has already proposed. And this would include household appliances and anything requiring wiring in the house. So for when I'm speaking of appliances, I mean washer, dryer, coffee pot, hair dryer, hair straightener, microwave, refrigerator, anything that's plugged, your TV, anything that's plugged into electricity, and then also lights, air conditioning systems, the heating system, anything that requires wiring throughout the house could be charged and operated through the transfer of radio waves from this transmitter. So that's the technology I'm proposing, which I know is a step further than what Energis has proposed. So do you think this technology would benefit more than just college students and those in their 20s?
I mean, definitely. You could eventually eliminate, like, all wiring in a housing. Like, it would make it so much easier to put, like, ceiling lights up. You wouldn't have to deal with wiring. You just, like, screw in the bulb. It's like some little thing that's not even connected to anything, so that would be very nice. Vacuuming would be a lot easier.
That was another thing. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, if you could get a vacuum. Because, I mean, they have, like, battery-powered, but they're not as powerful.
Right.
So, yeah, no, it would definitely make things way easier.
And who do you think this would most benefit?
Any household owner, probably. Okay. I mean, I guess apartments, too.
Yeah, I know it would definitely benefit me. So, with this technology that I've proposed for all household devices and appliances, what do you think the average American's reaction would be following an introduction to this technology? So I took you through an introduction at the beginning of this interview. If I gave them the same introduction to this technology, if you could give me a phrase or a word, what do you think their first reaction to it would be?
Probably blown away. I mean, I think it would change, like, a lot of how we function, like, with electricity, at least.
Okay.
It would make everything way more convenient. I think it would be very, like, gladly accepted by people. And I think people would be willing to invest quite a bit of money, especially for, like, if it could power all the appliances and everything. I think it would be worth people, if it's, especially if it saved electricity, then people would definitely invest.
So you think that, people have dozens of appliances and electronics in their house. You think someone would be willing to invest thousands on thousands of dollars to sort of rewire, their entire system?
I mean,
in their house.
If you could make it so you could get, like, a device, like put on previous appliances,
right?
That would make it easier, definitely,
so
for people to accept. But if not, then you just get contact with manufacturers like LG and Samsung, like different appliances, and then they can start implementing it in their newer models, and eventually people will upgrade.
Right. Okay. So kind of similar with the whole phone idea. A receptor's not too big of a hassle if it can be easily installed in the phone, but phone companies should soon just start automatically installing
and people upgrade their phones more than they do appliances. Like, appliances last
15,
10
20 years, yeah.
I mean, eventually.
Okay.
But an adapter, like, if you had, like, an adapter plugged into the back of your oven or something, you would never even see it, so that wouldn't be, like, bad either.
Right, and if we already have receptors that are half the size of a dime, I understand those are for phones. We might need bigger ones for big washing machines, but they're doing pretty well so far. So one thing I've been sort of working with the idea is why consumers would even need a wireless energy system. And the reasoning I came up for it is, there's really no need for wireless. My idea is just a way of innovating and improving our daily lives. I feel like that's really what technology is. It's just what can we do technologically better to improve our quality of life. Like, for example, did we need the iPhone? No.
No, like, exactly.
But did it greatly impact our lives?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I'll ask you the same question. Is there a need for this system?
I mean, I don't think there's really a need for, like, need for consumer electronics these days. Like, you don't need the newest iPhone or whatever, but it definitely, like, people want new things. And it's definitely, like, makes your life easier.
Yeah. Hold on one sec. That's great. And how do you kind of touched on this earlier, but how do you think you would directly benefit from this system?
Probably, well, are we talking about, like, the full scale?
The full scale, my proposed idea, beyond just electronic devices.
It would be nice to be able to put lighting wherever, because, like, right now my light has to be really close to an outlet, or I have to get, like, an extender.
Okay.
And then I would like, be able to charge my laptop or whatever from, like, the futon. Like, I'm just sitting there. And same goes for my phone and everything.
Okay. And at this point in time, do you have any questions or comments or suggestions for me, given my idea?
I don't think so. It sounds like it was pretty well-rounded.
Yeah, I've done a lot of thinking this week, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
And part of the assignment is I have to upload our interview to YouTube. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Cameron.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I will talk to you later.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
I am here with Mark Parrish, University of Florida electrical engineer graduate and current systems engineer for Lockheed Martin for guidance, navigation, and control systems. How are you today, Mark?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So first, in identifying the opportunity for this assignment, my idea is a wireless home charging system. So to begin, charging cords or docks limit a phone or other electronic device's mobility to a small area. Cords plugged into electrical outlets limit a household appliance or device's range and clutter a space. A wireless charging signal, similar to a Wi-Fi connection, could eliminate this immobility issue and electricity altogether. A transmitter could emit radio waves to receptors installed on or in the device. This would allow electronics to charge in any space receiving the signal, and electricity-powered machines to operate without electricity. Energous, a 2012 Silicon Valley startup, has already developed and patented a wireless charging technology called WattUp. The technology features a transmitter emitting radio waves to dime-sized receptors installed into electronic devices, including, but not limited to, smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, remotes, and game controllers. The receptors then convert the waves into electrical charge. The transmitter only transmits radio waves to a receptor when the device is in need of charge. Beyond Energys's WattUp wireless charging electronic technology, I'm proposing a home or office system technology transmitting power to all household and office electrical devices. A transmitter will send radio waves throughout an entire home or office, so appliances will no longer need cords, handheld electronics will no longer need batteries and charge, and lights, heat, and cooling systems will no longer need wiring. A device still uses electricity when it is turned off but plugged into an electrical outlet. Comparatively, WattUp's transmitter and my proposed technology only sends power to devices when they are in need of charge or energy. My proposed system will increase energy efficiency, decrease utility costs, and prevent electrical fires and power outages, not to mention eliminate gas emission from burning gas and coal. So basically, a technology has already been invented by this company called Energous for electronic devices, for iPhones, tablets, game controllers, and other similar electronic devices. But my idea is to go further than that and use a transmitter to charge and transfer electricity to any appliance in the house that's either plugged in to electricity or is wired to electricity, or uses any battery.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you 10 or so interview questions based on that idea. The first one is, which electronic devices do you use most frequently?
Okay, so within the house, I would say, definitely computer, phone, any type of cooking appliances. So that would, you don't turn it on, but, your refrigerator, oven, microwave, TV, things of that nature.
Okay. Yeah, my next question was, which household appliances or devices do you use most frequently? So you answered that.
Right. Okay.
Are you living in a house or apartment right now?
I'm in a house.
Okay. And do you have any idea what your current monthly electrical bill or electrical portion of your utilities bill is?
Oh, geez. I don't actually. My roommate manages that, so I think in the old apartment that I was living in, I know it was right around $100 a month.
Okay.
I think so. I don't actually know what it is for the current place.
And how big was that apartment?
So that apartment, I think it was like 1,000 square feet.
Okay. And were you the only person living there?
No, I had a roommate.
Just one roommate?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The next question is, do you find charging your phone or tablet or computer using a cord, do you find it annoying, hassling, or confining?
Sometimes I forget to plug it in, which is not great. But it's not too bad. I think that it's if there were stations to charge your phone, let's say like publicly available, that might be an interesting option. But I think as far as for the way things work right now, I don't think it's too bad.
Okay, and elaborate on what you mean by public charging stations.
Well, so you think like, okay, when you go to the airport, they have charging docks that have a bunch of different cables that come off of them, but it's different cables. So it would be kind of nice if there was just a pad you could put your phone on, and if that was just a sort of standard technology, that would be an interesting idea to basically always be able to charge just on a flat surface and not have to have any charging port that can get destroyed or damaged and then not work. There's the interface now becomes a wireless form, so it's a little bit easier to keep that and maintain that. So from a maintainability standpoint and an ease of interaction standpoint, I think that the wireless technology is definitely interesting.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And so Energous, the company I was talking about earlier, is proposing a $300 transmitter. This transmitter is able to simultaneously charge up to 12 devices within a 15-foot charging radius. So you'd have, for example, in your living room, you could have this one transmitter, and anytime you enter that 15-foot radius, any electronic within that 15-foot radius could be charged up to 12 devices.
Okay.
Would you purchase this transmitter for $300?
For $300. I don't know. I'd have to look and see how quickly it can charge. That's one of the things that, from an engineering standpoint, we have to look at, because it's even when you're transmitting power wirelessly, there's a certain rate at which that power can be transmitted. So I'd have to see how quickly it can charge something. Because if you have to stand there for 5 hours, that's probably not going to be a good option.
Mm-hmm.
But if it met all the specs, I would definitely consider buying it.
Okay. All right. So which target market do you think has the greatest potential or would benefit the most from this technology?
I definitely think that the smartphone type industry would benefit the most, or handheld electronics, things like that. The reason being that a lot of the problems that come in with wireless charging is the fact that when you increase the distance from the transmitter, you lose power with the square of distance. So if I walk twice as far away, I don't get half as much charge. I get a quarter of the amount of charge.
Okay.
So if you're walking further away, you have to have a much more powerful transmitter to do the charging. The nice thing is that smartphones and things like that they're actually low power devices, considering what they do. And so the interesting thing about those devices is that the batteries are actually very small, so you can charge them very quickly, and they require less current to be charged. So it's easier to interact with those objects because you can probably place them closer to the transmitter, thereby decreasing the distance, increasing the amount of power that can be delivered by the same transmitter to that device. So I would say that is certainly. I would think any type of handheld electronics is the biggest market for it, just because it's easy to interact with the transmitter and get the charge across.
Okay, that's a good point. Now I'm proposing. Energous has already come up with this wireless electronic charging technology, but their technology is basically just focused on like the handheld electronics. Whereas
Right.
I'm proposing, a step further than that. It would include all appliances in the house, so up to big appliances, including washer, dryer, refrigerator, anything that uses electricity. Do you think do you think there's even a market for that?
Well, I certainly think there's a market. I think the bigger problems are going to be in the technology. So I think it's possible, but basically when you're looking at like something like a dryer, I believe that's running on 210 volts AC power, which is different than a DC type power. So
Right.
You have to transmit power wirelessly using an analog signal, which basically means that I'm trying to figure out how to describe this properly. The voltage varies with time. You can't just send across a DC signal. So the problem is that the AC power has really high current and really high voltage, which is very hard to transmit using a wireless type technology. So for the larger appliances, I would say that your main challenge is going to be a technological one. I think for smaller appliances, you definitely could gain some traction. Think of like clocks. I think probably something that would be really interesting would be a wireless, basically something that would fit in the same slot as a wireless, like a AAA or AA battery, right? That would be something that basically you would plug into the same slot, and it would be the same size as a AA battery. And then if you were within the radius that your transmitter could reach, it would provide the correct amount of power to that device, and you'd never have to change the battery. So I would think smaller household electronics would benefit the most from it. And I definitely think people would be interested in it because not only are you not having to replace batteries, but in not replacing batteries, then you're not creating the environmental impact of something like a NiCad nickel-cadmium battery, which is very damaging to the environment. So you basically have this, this small electronic device that would integrate into your pre-existing electronics. So you're not having to change your electronics.
Okay.
You're not having to change batteries. You're reducing the waste from the batteries. So I would tend to think that the smaller electronics would be your go-to market. So I'm not, like you said, TV remotes, clocks, things like that. Like I said, the problem is high-power applications like a dryer or a refrigerator or like a blender or something like that. These are very high power, high current devices, and it's very hard to get current to be transmitted across because it's all derived from the power.
Mm-hmm.
So it's harder to get that through a wireless source, and as I said before, it decreases with the square of distance. So, maybe you could get enough power if you put your blender half a meter away from your transmitter, but as soon as you walk, a lot further away, then you're not going to be able to get that kind of performance that you had before. So the higher power electronics is the tough one. Like I said, I think people would be interested in something that would replace batteries in their devices.
Gotcha. Now, what if there was, for the devices or the appliances requiring more energy, what if there was a system that, even when they weren't, didn't have the on button on, what if they were charging at that point?
Right, so what you're talking about is basically a battery bank that stores energy for the device, charges what we would call a trickle charger. It trickles charge into it over time, and then powers the device. It's certainly something that it would be a change from the way contemporary things are done.
Right.
The main engineering issue with that is that basically when you have a battery, you have a direct current, so its voltage does not change over time. The motors, and so like motors, things that are, blenders, washing machine, dryer, those are all powered using a time varying signal, and so you have to transform the signal from a direct signal, DC current, to an AC current. That takes energy to do that transformation. You also you lose energy in the transmission from your unit, your transmitter, to the receiver that's on the device. So basically, you're going from the wall to your transmitter. You're losing energy in the transmission to your receiver. Then your receiver is storing that, and it's charging a battery. And charging a battery loses power, and so you just see this cascading loss of power throughout it.
Right.
And this is exacerbated for those higher current, higher power devices like a dryer, washer. People don't realize, but they're extremely high power devices. That's why you have to have a totally separate plug. It's totally different than what you normal electronics plug into. It's not like your 120 volt wall charger,
right.
Wall plug. So you're tending to see that this problem of power loss is going to be exacerbated on higher power devices, because everything just requiring higher power, any type of transmission, you're losing more power through it. So for a small device, you can generally make up for it, and it's not a problem. But then as you start to get to these higher power devices, now you're trying to do your transmission power has to be higher, and things like that. So it's definitely, I think, a harder technology problem for the larger devices.
Okay. And
yeah.
Obviously you look at it from an engineer's perspective, but what do you think the average American's reaction would be if I described this technology to them?
So, I think that the average American would definitely be, I think they'd be interested in it. Like I said, I'm interested in it for the smaller power devices. A lot of times, like I said, it's the issue can come in when it actually comes to implementing it, and you might find that so the batteries that you would need in order to power, let's say a washer, for example, it's consuming a lot of current, and high current batteries tend to have to be manufactured differently than your lower power batteries. So, a AAA battery is very inexpensive because of the way it's manufactured. Yeah. Whereas you're basically taking a battery out of an electric car might have 20 batteries in it. You're taking probably 3 of those cells to go power a washer. Okay. And each of those cells can cost $1,000.
Right.
So, I think the reaction for the concept is good, but when you attach a price tag to it, I don't know the response that people might have for that. I certainly think the concept is really interesting because then you don't have to have plugs. You don't have to have, you can move things around and not have to plug them in. And, that is certainly an interesting premise. You wouldn't have to have wall outlets and things like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's just getting the implementation and getting it to a cost point that is manageable for the average consumer, I think, is important.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Do you think you would benefit from the system? And if yes, how so?
Yeah, definitely you'd benefit from the system. Not having to have wired devices is certainly something that we've seen a benefit from in the past. Think of going from an Ethernet cable to, geez, we wouldn't know how to live without wireless technology. So going continually more wireless is certainly it's the progression of technology in the way that we use and interact with electronics. So I certainly think it would be beneficial. Not having to have things wired in and being able to move them around, that would be really fantastic. And I think another thing that would be interesting to note is not only in the home, but if you had one of these transmitters, basically you could have a generator running in the field and have a distributed power system that you could power different voltages and not have to have wires and everything going all over the place, right? In a house, it's decently easy to tuck things in the wall and we can get different power to different places. But think if you're trying to run, I don't know, a good example would be here. Let's say you're trying to run like a wedding, right? And it's got a lot of electronic things going on. Well, now you have cables running all over the place. That's not so nice, right? So now you could go ahead and have your transmitter and have everything powered off of that. I think that's another beneficial thing to the concept is that distributed power system that you're not having to be physically linked together is, I see as a real benefit.
Yeah, it's a really good example, a wedding. But yeah, no, that makes sense. I get that. All right, well, my last question really isn't a question, but do you have any questions or comments for me other than what you've already talked about?
No, I think it's, I definitely think, like I said, it's the way that things are progressing, and as we can go to a more wireless technologies and things like that, there are some really interesting technologies that have been emerging recently, so you're definitely on the right track in terms of what's hot in the market. Some of those things have been basically, they're putting like wireless signals into or they're putting your internet signal into the power you get from the power station. So you can basically get internet off of your wall plug, which is pretty cool. So things like that, everything in the power sector and the wireless technologies field is certainly growing. And the big thing is that as we increase our processing power with microprocessors and computer chips, they keep getting faster and faster and can do more things. Wireless technology becomes even better because we can churn through that data faster. And so it's certainly becoming something that is really useful. And from my experience in the defense industry, these kind of distributed systems and wireless technologies are really important to large corporations, defense, military applications, things like that. It's definitely important technology that's really being implemented. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. One last thing. Do you have a problem if I upload this interview to YouTube?
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and that was actually very helpful, and I learned a lot, actually. So,
welcome.
I appreciate it. I'm here with past teammate and current roommate Grace Vandegrift. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So the opportunity I've identified and the solution I've come up for that opportunity is a wireless home charging system. Charging cords or docks limit a phone or other electronic device's mobility to a small area, Cords plugged into electrical outlets limit a household appliance or device's range and clutter a space. A wireless charging signal, similar to Wi-Fi, could eliminate this immobility issue and electricity altogether. A transmitter could emit radio waves to receptors installed on or in the device. This would allow electronics to charge in any space receiving the signal and electricity-powered machines to operate without electricity. Energous, a 2012 Silicon Valley startup, has already developed and patented a wireless charging technology called WattUp. The technology features a transmitter emitting radio waves to dime-sized receptors installed into electronic devices, including but not limited to smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, remotes, and game controllers. The receptors then convert the waves into electrical charge. The transmitter only transmits radio waves to a receptor when a device needs charge. Beyond Energous' WattUp wireless charging electronic technology, I'm proposing a home or office system technology transmitting power to all household and office electrical devices. A transmitter will send radio waves throughout an entire home or office, so appliances will no longer need cords, handheld electronics will no longer need batteries and charge, and lights, heating, and cooling systems will no longer need wiring. A device still uses electricity when it is turned off but plugged into an electrical outlet. Comparatively, WattUp's transmitter and my proposed technology only sends power to devices when they need charge or energy. My proposed system will increase energy efficiency, decrease utility costs, and prevent electrical fires and power outages, not to mention eliminate gas emission from burning gas and coal. So, beginning with the interview questions, which electronic devices do you use most frequently?
My computer, for sure. Not only my laptop, but also my desktop.
Okay.
And of course, besides my phone. My phone is with me all the time. But I would say definitely my computer. Other appliances.
Yeah, that's the next question. Which household appliances or devices
you just
do you use
asked
the most?
electronics.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as household appliances, the washing machine and dryer, I use those a lot. And as well as the dishwasher. And I mean, I don't really ever think about it, but I guess the refrigerator and freezer are appliances that I use 24/7, even if I'm not in them 24/7.
Coffee pot?
Oh, yeah, coffee pot and percolator. Use that. The electronic tea kettle. And the microwave.
Yeah, we do use a lot of
Yeah.
appliances. Okay. Do you know what your current monthly electrical bill is?
Well, I split it with 4 people, but
It's okay, I'll take care of it for you. We probably average $300.
it's pretty expensive just because our house is big, and I'm not sure that we're always the most conservative on turning off lights and stuff. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, it averages about $325 a month probably. But that's everything included. That's water, I guess not gas, but yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Do you find having to charge your phone using a cord annoying, hassling, or confining? Having to go
Having
over...
to use my phone charger is it with the cord?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really annoying. Well, because I always want to have my phone on me, but there's only so many outlets in the wall. And so when I want to charge my phone, I have to go sit by the outlet, and the cord only reaches, unless you get an extendable cord, one of those long ones is only, 3 feet, maybe?
Yeah, the
Maybe
ones
less
that
than
Apple
that.
gives you.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's annoying. And also in the car. I noticed, I have the charger in my car that the little converter that you put in your cigarette lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's annoying, too, because it always wraps around my seatbelt.
Which could be
a driving hazard.
Yeah.
Or, if I'm trying to call someone, and I don't know, and it's wrapped around my seatbelt, yeah, it's just, I fumble with it. It's not safe.
Okay. So the company I mentioned previously, Energous, has created a transmitter that transmits radio waves up to 15 feet and will charge up to 12 devices in those 15 feet simultaneously. So if you were to walk into a room with that transmitter, your phone or smartwatch or whatever would all of a sudden start charging if you're in that signal range. So the company is planning on providing this transmitter for $300. Would you purchase it for $300?
Ooh. I don't know if I would buy it for $300. Like right away. Like if it were to come on the market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't buy it, but I would keep an eye out for when the price goes down. Just because I think like that is a really great thing, but I'm not willing to spend $300 on it.
Oh, what if you were to split that cost with your roommates?
Yeah, I think I'd be more apt to do it.
Okay. And which target market do you think has the greatest potential for this technology? What age group or type of people would benefit most from?
Oh gosh, I feel like everyone would. I feel like probably like the younger, like 20 to 30 age group would probably be the first to jump on it.
Okay.
I will say my boss is 33 though, and I can definitely see him buying something like that for his house and for our office.
Okay, so kind of like even older people than our generation that are pretty tech savvy.
Right.
Okay.
I could see my dad actually buying it too because he hates the charger. And he's 50.
Okay. All right. So beyond the transmitter that Energous has created, my idea is for this transmitter to not only, obviously it will in the future extend its range past 15 feet. That's the farthest that their transmitter transmit these radio waves at this time. But I'm proposing that they create a much stronger transmitter that can transmit radio waves longer and at a higher current that could potentially charge big appliances, including any appliance that needs to be plugged into an outlet. So, future homes would no longer have to be built with outlets and wiring throughout the house. Mm-hmm. So that's basically, Energous has already come out with this idea for handheld electronics and whatnot, but I'm proposing sort of like one step further. So what do you think the average American's reaction would be following an introduction that I just gave you to this technology for all electrical appliances?
So no, just houses being built without any electrical.
Yeah, and you just have one centrally located transmitter that charges.
What would
powers.
Be like the reception? Is that what you're asking? With American people, what would they think?
Yeah, what would their reaction be to it? If you could give me a phrase or just the first thing that might come into their mind when they.
I don't know. It would be an adjustment, that's for sure.
Okay.
I know, with the new iPhones, how they don't have the headphone jack in them. So I know that whenever you get in a car and someone has an auxiliary cable and they want to plug their phone in, but they have the new phone that doesn't have the headphone jack, they can't do it.
Right.
And so I feel like people would have appliances and they'd have to adjust them to fit, you know what I mean? Old things that they want to plug in and they wouldn't be able to.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Do you think that there's a need for this type of system?
I think there's a need. I think this type of system would honestly, if there was a way to expand it, so not just the appliances, but the mobile devices, if you could expand it to work in a public place, a airport or train station, and someone could walk in and their phone immediately be charging, or there could be spots in cities or stuff, because I know that people can be out and their phone dies and they need to call an Uber, but they can't because they have no charger and their phone is dead. With respect to household appliances, do I think that there's a need for it? And yeah, I think it could definitely help with maybe fire hazard, which I know can be a big thing, or electric shock, especially when it comes to appliances. I think electricity is kind of a scary thing and we don't really ever think about it. But if that could minimize the risk of any kind of fire sparking because of electricity or any kind of electric shock accident. I think that's a huge need.
Yeah. One of the other people I've interviewed suggested, sort of similar to the Your Public Space idea, a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
How there's, you have a camera and you have a bunch of, you might have speakers, a music system, all this different stuff, and you don't exactly want to see all the cords and whatever that you have to plug it in. So
or maybe like a concert, because I think about all the wiring, or like at a speech or any kind of public thing where there's all those microphones and sound systems, how there's all those wires and like people can trip and stuff.
Yeah. So, how do you think you would directly benefit from the system, or do you think you would even benefit from it?
Directly benefit? Well, there would be no cords, which I think would be awesome. It would be, I wouldn't be losing my phone charger, which I feel like I always lose my phone charger, or one of my chargers. Also, it would be a nice benefit to not have to put things right by the electrical outlet. Like, you could literally put your, your refrigerator and any space in your kitchen, I guess you have to worry about the coolant system. It's kind of... But I'm thinking, like, certain things, like, you wouldn't have to put, like, right by the outlets. Like, if you had a lamp, you wouldn't need to set it right next to, like, the plugs, or worry about, like, the wire looking weird across the wall. Like, you could put it anywhere and not worry about that.
I feel like sometimes we might arrange our furniture based on where the outlets are, so we might put a side table if there's an outlet there because we need to put a light there, or that's where we're going to charge something or whatnot.
Like, where your desk sits, there needs to be, like, some kind of plug there. And if there's not, then you're kind of out of luck. So I think that would be, like, an immediate benefit.
Okay. All right, and then my last question is, do you have any questions, comments, or suggestions? Or anything that interests you?
I don't know. I've never thought about this before, but I think it's a really good idea. And not just for, I think the already patented technology for the radio waves, for, like, smartphones and stuff, that's awesome. But I think if you could convert it into something bigger for household appliances, especially if it could save money, that would be huge, because I know utilities are crazy expensive.
Right. All right, well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.
Right. I'm here with Jordan Mansour, Junior Industrial Engineer student at the University of Florida. Jordan, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So I'm going to start with kind of identifying the opportunity that I've found, and then the hypothesis that I've come up to sort of solve that problematic opportunity. So my solution, I'll start out, is a wireless home charging system. Charging cords and docks limit a phone or other electronic device's mobility to a small area. Cords plugged into electrical outlets limit a household appliance or device's range and clutter a space. A wireless charging signal, similar to Wi-Fi, could eliminate this immobility issue and electricity altogether. A transmitter could emit radio waves to receptors installed on or in a device. This would allow electronics to charge in any space receiving the signal, and electricity-powered machines to operate without electricity. Energous, a 2012 Silicon Valley startup, has already developed and patented a wireless charging technology called WattUp. The technology features a transmitter emitting radio waves to dime-sized receptors installed into electronic devices, including but not limited to smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, remotes, and game controllers. The receptors then convert the waves into electrical charge. The transmitter will only transmit radio waves to a receptor when that device is in need of charge. So beyond Energys's WattUp wireless charging electronic technology, I'm proposing a home or office system technology transmitting power to all household and office electrical devices. A transmitter will send radio waves throughout an entire home or office, so appliances such as a refrigerator, washer, dryer, coffee pot, etc. will no longer need cords. Handheld electronics will no longer need batteries and charge, and lights, heating, and cooling systems will no longer need wiring. A device still uses electricity when it is turned off but plugged into an electrical outlet. Comparatively, my proposed technology will only send power to devices when they need charge or energy to operate. My proposed system will increase energy efficiency, decrease utility costs, and prevent electrical fires and power outages, not to mention eliminate gas emission from burning gas and coal. So through that interview or overview, do you have a somewhat of a sense of kind of my idea?
Yeah, I understand it.
Okay, cool. Which electronic devices do you use most frequently?
Probably my phone and my computer.
Okay. Like laptop, computer?
Yeah, laptop.
And what about household appliances? Which of those do you use most frequently?
Probably the refrigerator.
Okay.
Or like, do you want me to tell you multiple ones?
Just the ones that you
Like the
use on a daily
refrigerator.
basis.
The refrigerator and the stove, probably.
And stuff. Okay. So your stove is electrical, not
Yeah,
gas.
it's electrical.
Okay. Any idea what? I mean, how many roommates do you have? 5.
5 roommates.
All right. Do you have any idea what your monthly electrical bill
Yeah,
is?
it's like 300. Yeah, it's like around $300.
Is that your utilities bill or just
Utilities.
Okay. Do you have any idea?
Oh, like
do
electric.
you ever look at what percentage of that is electric versus
Well, I think
water?
Oh, wait, water's separate, so that's all electric.
Okay.
Because our water bill comes separately.
Oh, okay.
So that's It's like $300 just for the
Okay.
electric.
For 6 roommates total.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is: do you find having to charge your phone using a cord that's plugged into an outlet? Do you find that annoying, frustrating, hassling at
Yeah.
all? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably most annoying because you have to like carry your charger around if you want to charge your phone in like a different room or something.
Okay.
And I've lost like 10 chargers.
Do you have the typical, 4-foot iPhone one?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever thought about getting a longer run?
Actually, I do have a long run because for my iPad, I think it's like 12 feet long actually.
Okay.
But I use it for my phone too.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Do you find it less annoying having that one?
Yeah, definitely.
Just because you can move around more with it?
Mhm.
Okay. So the company I mentioned previously, Energous, has created a transmitter that transmits these radio waves up to 15 feet. So if you walk within those 15 feet carrying any device, it'll start charging that up to 12 devices at one time. The purchase price, they've estimated is going to be $300. Would you purchase it?
Yeah, for sure.
For
I
sure?
put it right over my bed.
So you would use it just in your room then?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Just like my phone and my computer and like by my desk. My headphones too.
Yeah, there's actually one that's like the far range one. There's a mid range one that I'm guessing is like 3-ish feet, and you can put it on your desk, and
yeah.
it charges anything
I would definitely use that.
on your desk. Okay. So as soon as it comes out, you would you really consider getting it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it not out yet?
I
Is
was
it
reading
concept?
I was reading an article, and it pretty much, I think right now, is a concept. I think they have created the technology.
Yeah.
But I think they're working on getting it to it to market. So which target market do you think has the greatest potential for this type of technology, or who would benefit the most from it?
I would probably say, like small. Yeah, probably small companies with offices, probably.
Okay. No one I've interviewed has said that yet.
What do they say? Like for homes.
Well, they typically, maybe I didn't ask the question the same way. They say sort of like the smartphone generation, like our generation.
Wait,
like
did you
the
ask
type.
like who would benefit or what? Or
I said which target market. So that's a
Yeah, that's
a good
yeah.
that works. That answer works. So beyond what this company has already come out with, and they've already patented the technology, my idea is taking it one step further and using the same sort of transmitting radio waves to power electronics throughout the house. So basically, that light right there could be powered by radio waves, or a dishwasher or coffee pot, just any appliance that has to be plugged into electricity could use this technology. what do you think the average American's reaction would be to an introduction to this technology and the whole concept of it?
I think the first thing they would say is they would ask about the health like consequences of it. Because I don't know exactly what the technology is about. I know some kind of waves can harm like
Right.
like the way like your brain operates and stuff, but like microwaves can. If you stand too close from a microwave, like those waves can hurt you. But I don't know about that technology. But I'm sure they would. That's the first thing they would think about.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely thought about that too. Do you think there's a need for this system? Why or why not?
I don't think there's a need for it, but I definitely think that I definitely think it would be a lot of a huge market, like not only companies but also just for personal use too, which is big because then you're covering like almost every person in America, whether they use it at work or like at home.
So when you say a huge market for companies, what kind of companies are you thinking? How do you think they would use that?
I don't know. I'm picturing like a big company that has not like private offices, but like a bunch of desks out in like the middle of a giant room, and they have people walking around with like computers and walking around with their phones and stuff like that, and there's always like wires and clusters everywhere. So I'm picturing like putting a couple of those in like a large room with a bunch of desks in it. And you could also do it like in classrooms at UF too, because I know when I have to take exams on my laptop, like for programming classes, there's never enough outlets in the room to charge everyone's computer. So like, people fight over spots next to the outlet because their battery doesn't last the whole exam.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good
So
point.
that could be useful too.
Okay. What about the whole idea for appliances? What about the idea for electrical appliances, like that sort of system? Do you think there's a need for something like that?
I think it would be useful for any kind of electric device that you have to carry, that you can carry around, like a coffee pot.
So smaller.
Yeah, I think it's like lamps too, just to like avoid the cords. TVs for sure. Yeah, stuff like that you'd have to like that you move around, that you'd have to like carry around or like put it away or have a cord like laying around somewhere that you see.
So not necessarily like a refrigerator because everything's
because
everything's
right behind, and it uses a lot of power too. And I don't know if the device would be able to power something like that.
Right.
It might.
That's why I wanted to interview you, because you're an engineer.
I'm sure there's limits to how much like power it can supply.
Yeah, I talked to an electrical engineer, and he basically took me through all the technology behind, like way more than I really needed to know. But, anyway, it was really insightful. How would you benefit directly from this system?
I would put one on my desk. And, I would use it for my computer, my phone.
Okay.
And, like, anything when I'm sitting at my desk, like, doing homework and stuff, and I only have, like, 2 outlets by my desk, so I can't plug all my stuff in.
Right.
It's, like, charge one thing and then take it out and charge my other thing. And so I've used it for that.
Okay. All right, and then my last question is, do you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for me?
I think the only like question with that technology is just the health question, and like how much power it can supply. Like it said 12 devices, right? Is that what it said?
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, 12 devices, but how, like, I'm sure a refrigerator is more than like a cell phone. Like it takes more power to power a refrigerator than a cell phone.
Right.
So I don't know, you just have to see like how much power it can supply. That's the only other question I would have about it.
Okay. All right, cool.
And like range too. If you could increase the range, that would be like a whole other thing.
Yeah. If it could truly be like a Wi-Fi system covering an entire house versus just one room.
Right.
So. All right, cool. Well, thank you for doing this interview.
No problem.
For my last interview, I'm interviewing my mom. Mom, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm proposing a wireless home charging system. The opportunity that I've identified is the following. Charging cords or docks limit a phone or other electronic device's mobility to a small area. Cords plugged into electrical outlets limit a household appliance or device's range and clutter a space. A wireless charging signal similar to Wi-Fi could eliminate this immobility issue and electricity altogether. A transmitter could emit radio waves to receptors installed on or in the device. This would allow electronics to charge in any space receiving the signal, and electricity-powered machines to operate without electricity. Energous, a 2012 Silicon Valley startup, has already developed and patented a wireless charging technology called WattUp. The technology features a transmitter emitting radio waves to dime-sized receptors installed into electronic devices, including but not limited to smartphones, smartwatches, tablets, remotes, and game controllers. The receptors then convert the waves into electrical charge. The transmitter only transmits radio waves to a receptor when that device is in need of charge. Beyond Energous' WattUp wireless charging technology, I'm proposing a home or office system technology that transmits power to all household and office electrical devices. A transmitter will send radio waves throughout an entire home or office, so appliances such as a refrigerator, washers and dryers, and coffee pots, to name a few, will no longer need cords, handheld electronics will no longer need batteries and charge, and lights, heating, and cooling systems will no longer need wiring. A device still uses electricity when it is turned off, but plugged into an electrical outlet. Yet, my proposed technology will only send power to devices when they are in need of charge or energy. My proposed system will increase energy efficiency, decrease utility costs, and prevent electrical fires and power outages, not to mention eliminate gas emission from burning gas and coal. My first interview question for you is, which electronic devices do you use most frequently?
So probably the computer, and then things that are running ambiently, like the refrigerator, and then the heating and air conditioning, depending upon the season.
Okay. So you don't use your iPhone very often then?
Well, I wasn't considering it a electronic device because it doesn't have to be plugged in all the time. I guess if you mean anything that runs on a battery or is plugged in, then I would include my phone as well.
Okay. Okay. What is your current monthly electrical bill? So the electrical portion of your utilities bill.
Oh, that's a good question, and that really varies depending upon the season.
Right. If you could just guesstimate an average.
If I were to guesstimate an average, I'd say probably 125.
Well, you guys have much better heating and air conditioning systems in Washington than we do here. Or are you?
I think it may be the efficiency of the home, the way the home's built.
Yeah, or we just have really high utility charges.
Well, we have our utilities are pretty reasonable here.
Yeah. Do you find charging your phone using a cord annoying, hassling, or confining?
No, because my battery does not typically run out over the course of a day, so I just charge it at night, and that's not inconvenient for me.
Okay. What about cords for the computer plugged in? Does that ever bother you, or having to figure out which cord goes to the printer and the printer to the outlet and whatnot?
Okay, so I'm old-fashioned. I don't really use a laptop. I just use a desktop, so the cords are where the cords are, and they don't move around. So, no, they don't bother me.
Okay. That's fine. So, the company that I mentioned previously, Energous, has developed the technology to... they've created a transmitter that transmits radio waves up to 15... in an area of up to 15 feet, which can charge small electrical devices, up to 12 devices at one period simultaneously. The transmitter they propose it costs $300. Would you purchase it?
No, I would not. It wouldn't be worth it for me.
Why wouldn't it be worth it?
Because really the only thing that I would be charging would be my phone, and it's not a big deal for me to plug in my phone at night, and $300 is a lot of money.
Okay. Which target market then do you think has the greatest potential for this technology or would find it most useful and beneficial?
I guess probably a younger market that uses a lot of electronics that need charging.
Okay. Sorry, what was your last thing you said?
Just now?
Yeah, that uses...
That is probably a younger market that has more items that require charging on a daily basis.
Okay.
For
And
me, it's only my phone, and as I say, it's not a big deal to plug it in.
okay, right. And then what about so Energous has already invented and patented this technology, but I'm proposing taking it one step further and using this technology or a technology like it to power anything electrical, including air conditioning systems and heating systems, lights, and then all electrical appliances. Which target market do you think has the greatest potential for this technology or would find it most beneficial, given that it's possible?
If it's possible, I would say potentially anybody, particularly if it involved cost savings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So, what do you think the average American's reaction would be following an introduction to this technology that would basically eliminate all electricity or the need for it?
Well, I think it would be great if we weren't reliant on electricity, but the concerns I would have would be whether that's actually feasible and how you generate the radio frequency. I mean, how does that come about? And is that not through electricity? Doesn't the transmitter have to be, somehow get its energy to be able to put out the waves?
Okay.
And then there's the health concern about having all this radio frequency floating all over the place to power everything that's around you. And, are there potential health consequences from that?
Okay. All good points. Do you think there's a need for this system?
I think that there's a need for any sort of system that will get us away from using coal and fossil fuels. So anything that contributes to a cleaner use of energy, I think, is potentially beneficial.
Okay.
It's just a question of feasibility, whether or not a radio frequency can do, what you would hope it would be able to do, and whether or not there are any health consequences associated with it.
Okay. So I already asked you if you would purchase Energous' transmitter, and you said no, it probably wouldn't be worth it. If a system like this did come about in our society, really overall evolved to use it in our homes, if washing machines started having these receptors and these transmitters were big enough that they could power them and whatnot, do you think you would benefit from this system, or how would you benefit from this system?
Well, I think whether as a global community as a whole, if it was a green source of energy, potentially that would be beneficial. But I think the issue would be cost, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
What the cost associated with that technology would be. Whether there are impediments to the feasibility of powering something like a washing machine with radio frequency, whether that's even possible. And then thirdly, as I've mentioned before, whether potentially you're going to end up with health consequences of exposing people's bodies to this kind of radio frequency and the amount that would be required in order to power electronics.
Okay. And then my last question is, do you have any questions or comments or suggestions other than what we've talked about through this interview?
I don't think so. I would be interested to see if the company that has put together the transmitter to power small electronic devices, if they're able to get their price point down. I would think that would be a big hurdle for them, in terms of getting adequate sales.
Right. Would you, if they could get their price point down, would you consider it?
For me, again, it wouldn't make sense.
Okay.
I can use a $20 cable and power my phone, and it is not inconvenient for me to do that. If I had multiple electronics that I needed to charge all the time, then I might think about it, but I don't foresee that being a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
That's my pleasure.